Hello, let me know when you can hear this. If you're here, just drop a heart or say hi. Um, I know it's Friday night, so I'm not sure if anyone's going to be here or not, but I'm going to go ahead and go into the collective cards of 2018 and into 2019 and kind of how they all work together, the cycle of them. Um, and how we as a collective can work together. It also can inform your year of what kind of year you're going to be in when you compare it to your personal year cards. If you didn't get your year cards, you can download them. You can download the free ebook. I'll link that when this is finished. You can also look at the video from yesterday. Um, yeah, so this just kind of gives you even better picture. So what the world, what your community is going through on a whole, and then from there, what your role is. So you can look at it on a grand scale. So there's year cards for the collective, for just in general for the year. And then there's your year cards, and then there's the minor cards, the kind of cards that go that you're going through in your daily life. So it's kind of like a circle. So that's what we're talking about today. And so I'm going to wait just a few minutes. But yeah, if you have questions about your year card, you can talk about that, but go back to the other video just so we can keep this on track. I'm just going to talk about the collective today. If you have questions about your card and the collective, even after you're watching this, that is completely fine for this video. I just kind of want to keep it kind of reined in. So if you knew your year card already and you're just like, what does that mean when we are in an Empress year? I am happy to answer those questions. And so we also will be doing a meditation, a longer guided meditation through last year into this year with all four cards. So of course you're more than able to join this later if you're not in a good place of of meditation. So yeah, I'm gonna go and go into it. So last year was a Justice and High Priestess year. And the way I add up the year is literally just add up the year. So last year was 8, 2018. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 11. So 11 is both justice. I will say as a side note, that could be strength in your deck. But I'm just going to be talking about justice today. Actually makes a lot more sense to me for it to be a justice year anyway. But you could see it both ways. But for this, to keep it simple, this is a justice year. Last year, 2018, was a justice year. And 11, 1 plus 1 is 2, which is a high priestess. So we're working with both. The justice on a grand scale, I think we saw that pretty evidently with the Me Too. And I would hate to call it a movement because this is something that a lot of us have been working on for, I guess it is a movement, but it's not a brand new movement. It's something that has been going on for some time. And so justice, things getting flipped around, things coming to the surface, things being, justice is also the card for Libra. So very concerned with making things right, making things equal, making things for the greater whole. So for the greater whole, making things better. So that's why we saw things surface that people have been getting away with for years. And so, you know, people being raped in the Hollywood industry, and on a bigger scale, that bigger scale shows what goes on in our lives as individuals, especially as women, men, to knowing that I'm trying to not get too political. It's a big part of who I am, but by political, I mean really, I mean global, thinking on things on a global level. So we saw last year justice. We saw things that people were getting away with come to the surface. We saw things that have been hidden coming. And justice is very concerned about the hidden coming to the surface and righting wrongs and correcting actions to benefit the greater whole. You might have found that in your life, that there was a greater demand for integrity. Um, that there was a demand for you to keep your promises, firstly to yourself and to others. If you are here today, if you want to comment on how justice was presented in your life, I'll wait a few minutes for that while I keep rambling about justice. So, and what you think about justice. So this is last year again. This is a card for last year, the main card for last year. Justice, things surfacing, things, you know, things coming to full to benefit the greater whole. So, yeah. Um, there was a call for justice. People that hadn't been concerned about things started to be concerned because it's like you couldn't ignore it. If you did ignore it, you had to try very hard to ignore and really seclude yourself, I think, to ignore all the things going on in the world. So it's also been a frustrating year because we feel like, as idealists, dreamers, activists, that we can't do much about justice, about things to create justice. And so that's when our personal integrity comes in. That's when our doing the best we can with what we have comes in. And so creating justice on that scale. And so I think this next year for this group, I'm going to take things more on a global scale a little bit. Of course, us personally, that's where it always starts. But on a, I'll just give you an example that this month is the new moon in Capricorn. So I'm going to try my best to go live tomorrow or Sunday. One of those days I will go live and we're going to be discussing things like addiction. And then, so just bigger on how tarot can inform the larger things in life, not just, and you know already that in this group we don't read predictively. We really expand and kind of bring things out that are bigger. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. The year was also High Priestess year. So we were also standing on a threshold, not knowing what would happen next. There's a revolution on a global scale. I feel it. People caring a lot more than they used to. I think this is all positive, even though there's horrible things happening in the world. And I am one that tries to, stay informed while also honoring that I can't get too involved because otherwise I'm a miserable mother and person. So I have to control what kind of news I get. Something I do that might be helpful for you on a side note is when I'm on my computer, I have something that blocks my newsfeed, so I cannot see anything on my newsfeed at all. If I want to look something up, I have to literally go to someone's profile and look it up. I don't have that on my phone, unfortunately, but I'm working on taking that off. Sometimes I keep my phone app because of this group and things like that, but that might change. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. So on a side note, if you have been overwhelmed by the things happening in the world and everything becoming so visible, it might be helpful to put some boundaries around how you take in news and how you look at things. At the same time, I don't think it is responsible as a healer, teacher, idealist, dreamer, person that wants the world to be better to not look at the news at all. I think that's actually, something called spiritual bypassing, where we're numbing out. And so a middle ground would be nice. Justice is all about the middle ground. Justice is about balancing, making sure we feel good and we're also being a benefit to the world. So you might have found that in your self-care a lot. Sorry about that. So I don't know what all my buttons do on my Mac sometimes, and I just minimize my screen on accident. So the other card, like I was just saying, is High Priestess. So High Priestess is about our intuition, about an up-leveling, about approaching the altar, per se. So you're approaching the altar, you're about to go through the threshold, you approach the High Priestess, and I should have cards with me. I had to run down here. But yes, the High Priest, I will post pictures. If you have a deck, you can even look at these cards yourself. High Priestess is about, she's seated at a threshold and you approach her waiting for answers. And so it might have been a year of really don't know what to do next on a global scale. We don't know what to do next to change the world. We know that there's something else, that there's something better, hopefully something better, but we don't know what's on the other side. So all we can do is keep checking in and before we approach the altar. And before we go through the threshold. Some of us might have gotten immense clarity this year and made big changes. Some of us are still at that threshold waiting for the answers, and that's fine. That's completely normal. So if you have any stories about how, if you're watching this later or now, about how that high priestess was in your life, how you have felt like your intuition was stronger, or maybe you were confused this year, and what kind of answers you were seeking. Yeah, on a global level, the high priestess asks us to wait and gather answers and ask for an awakening on individually, and then what can we do to help the world. So justice brings apart frustration of what we can do, and the high priestess asks us to approach and asks us to really analyze what we can do to better the world and better our communities on a smaller level too, our families, ourselves. This year, moving into 2019, is it's kind of similar energy in that the fact that it's kind of like a yang, like forceful energy with a kind of holding and waiting energy. And so our first year, since we're moving into a year 12, is the hanged man. And so the hanged man is suspended, suspended, waiting, hoping that the answer will come. It's not a suspension usually that happened to them. It's something that you have, you literally don't know the answer. So maybe when we're thinking about the high priestess and the hangman, we're still like hanging at the threshold. We're just waiting right there to know our answer. Some of us might still be there, and that's completely normal. And I feel like some things in our world isn't a very hanged man. Like, what are we going to do with this or that issue? What are we going to do for our communities? You know, when we feel powerless. So we have to wait and see what kind of answers come through. The hanged man is about preparation. So preparing for the big expansion that was going to happen um, after the waiting. So it's like a cocoon. It's like a a pot that's just simmering and waiting. It's also on the other side of it is the Empress, which is our other card, which is 3. Hopefully this isn't too obscure for you guys. If it is, we can break it down a little more in the comments. But 3 is the Empress. She is our other card for 2019, and she is a master of just letting herself be. She's the one that brings up, she borns things, like she creates. She cannot help but create. She's just, everything she touches is creation. So that is a really beautiful thing to have after justice cutting everything away and showing us the horrible things, righting wrongs, and then having approaching the high priestess and just waiting and hoping for the answer. The Empress is like, I have the answers, and it's the time for them to be born. It's a time for creative projects to be born on a collective level. It's for time for revolution, answers, things to come, to correct the things that justice brought to the surface. So justice brought to the surface what is wrong. The hanged man and high priestess kind of asked us to wait for the answer, and the Empress has brought along the answer. And it made it so obvious and so clear. So when you have an Empress moment, because things are so clear and you cannot help but move. You want to move so quickly as possible, to move forward and create what you've been called to do. And so if you want to comment before I go into the meditation of any moments, any confusions you've had, not pulling cards tonight. I had decided that, but because I did so many yesterday and then last Sunday, I just feel like I wanted to talk on kind of a bigger level. Not bigger as more important, but bigger as more global. So if you have any questions about this, I kind of went through it quickly, but the meditation should help clarify it too. If you have any questions about how your life looked this last year, of how you have been waiting for answers and not gotten them, know that that is completely normal, especially if you're kind of in line with the collective. If you feel like I'm not waiting for anything, I feel very clear. Well, you're already in the Empress moment. So this is going to be a year of feeling born, reborn, and like you can do anything eventually. So if you're still in the waiting period, that's fine. Just keep waiting and keep preparing, because it's going to be a huge expansion on the other side of it. So wait a few more minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into the meditation. So if you're in a good spot to meditate, Go ahead and sit down, lay down, whatever's comfortable for you. Close your eyes. Keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Eventually, you might even put your hands on your belly. You'll notice that your belly expands like a big balloon if you can get your breath that low and deep. That's the goal. Sometimes it's triggering to put your hand on your belly. So remind yourself that you're safe, you're secure. Don't go into what your physicality is. Just remind yourself that you're safe and secure. So start imagining anything that's come up globally for yourself this year, this past year in 2018. Anything that hasn't been resolved, that might just be sitting there that you don't know what to do with, but the truth. If you start getting any messages, say it out loud. Say out loud what you're dealing with. If you can't say it out loud, whisper it to yourself. On a global level, we are dealing with so many things. You all know what they are. And so it's easy to get overwhelmed thinking we don't know what to do about them. I just know that there's a way of rights being wronged, wrongs being righted, I mean, that too. That balance will happen. And that in order for balance to happen, sometimes uncomfortable things really need to surface. So sometimes uncomfortable things need to come up to the surface, and so you might have experienced that now. Anything that's coming up about last year, just bring it up to the surface, look at it, say it out loud. If you're joining us, we're doing a meditation on last year up until this year with our core cards. So join in when you're ready, looking at anything that justice has brought up to your vision, anything that you need to look at, even if it's uncomfortable, say it out loud. If you let it go this past year, you don't need to look at it any further. You've already done the work. If it's still there, if you're holding on to it still, imagine a knife slicing it away. Putting it to the side. You're very aware of it, but you know that you need to do more work to face it. So if you're ready, you can slice it to the side. If you're not ready, ask how you can be ready to get rid of this and to right the wrongs, to bring light to things that need to have light brought to them. Cut away any shame, any guilt, anything. Those things are actually in your way of seeing truth. So cut away any shame, any guilt. Slice those things away. Get down to the core essence of what justice is bringing to your knowledge. You'll know it's coming from a good place, from your intuition, if it's not judgmental, if it's just a fact. Even if it's a hard fact, you'll know if it's a true fact, if it's not judgmental, if it's just presenting something to you. Cut away shame, cut away guilt. Get to the core essence of what you're trying to see. When you're ready, scoop anything up that you need to look at more closely and walk it up to the altar of the High Priestess. Imagine a human there sitting on a throne a teacher, a gentle teacher, and with your core truths, you've brought it up and asked what you can do to get on the other side of this, to get through the threshold and into where you know you want to be. Now imagine her gently wrapping you up in a cocoon, asking you to prepare for the next step. And you remind yourself that you're safe and secure. Then the answers you need will come to you. You're gathering strength, you're preparing, you're gathering knowledge, you're gathering energy, you're gathering time, you're gathering resources. So sit in this cocoon peacefully, calmly, knowing that you're safe, you're secure, and that you'll stay here as long as you need to face what you need to face and to know exactly what the answer is on the other side. You stay here as long as it takes, and then when you're ready, you start unwinding yourself, gently unwinding yourself. So ready. You might even find yourself wanting to burst through, but be gentle. Unwind yourself, unwind yourself, unwind yourself. Burst through gently with all the knowledge you need to move forward and be reborn. Carrying all these things you carried with you, having them been transformed and created new and made something true with them. So imagine what you will create on the other side of this. Imagine what it feels like, looks like. You might not even know what it is yet, but know that what it feels like and what it looks like. The High Priestess is waiting for you, and she allows you to walk through the threshold. What's on the other side? What does it feel like? What does it smell like, look like? Allow yourself to dream. Allow yourself not to know exactly what it is, but just allow the feeling so that when you do get the answers, you will know exactly what it feels like, and will know that it's right this year. Allow yourself to be new. Allow yourself to not know anything. Allow yourself to be open. Allow yourself to create whatever you desire to create this year. Allow yourself to be of use to your community in whatever special way you are. Knowing that all the preparation you did benefited your family, your friends, the people around you, your community. Knowing that you do have a purpose, you do have a purpose in the community, and allow yourself to join your community and to be of purpose to them. That no matter how little you think your gift is, that it benefits someone around you. And take a moment to breathe all that in, to really soak in what the feeling is, to have clarity. And remember it when you're in these moments that are stagnant and waiting. Take a deep breath in. All right, you guys, so that was that. If you do have questions, if you're seeing this later, if you have questions about the meditation I did or the cards I drew, I'm going to post a picture of them tomorrow. Yeah, does anyone have questions now about what we just did? And by the way, hi, Svetlana. Thanks for saying hi. I was in the middle of that meditation, but yeah. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions about the collective cards, if you are an idealist or dreamer, and how you want to work with these cards on kind of a bigger, if you're frustrated about things going on in the world, I'm sure that's a lot of us here, and what kind of special gifts you have to bring. I do work one-on-one with people, and that is one of my specialties because I've been an idealist my whole life, and just been so concerned, even when I was a little girl, what's going on in the world. And so that is one of my gifts, is to help people realize their gifts. I see potentials in everyone, and so and I'm a connector, and so that's kind of what I do. If you are interested in working with me, I have some spots open. I would love to work with you. My work is really tarot energy based, kind of what we do in this group, very individualized. So thank you guys for being here, and I love you too, Brooke. Thanks for seeing it. I'm doing these at night now because it actually makes sense. So maybe you can actually see these now. All right, you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here and for being part of the collective of healers and helpers and teachers and activists. And I truly believe that this year is going to be amazing for all of us. So if you need extra help, just get a hold of me and we can talk. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.